Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and I'm out here to work on the pond again today. Now, truth be told, I'd actually kind of feel like taking a break from it because the last few days have been pretty labor intensive, but right now the water level's low and I need to take advantage of that and get some of these projects done that can't wait, because I have a lot of other projects going, but they can all wait. So today we're going to try to seal up the forward bank with bentonite clay, and then we're going to try to do something about the pond lilies that have taken over the pond. I can't say I love seeing that windmill turn. It's not a windy day, so it'll get going pretty good, and then it'll stop, and then it'll go again. So we're getting intermittent aeration. The other thing that I've read about these is that the bellows are brand new. So right now it's harder to turn, and after it's been up there for a little while, it's gonna spin even easier and take less wind to make it spin. But anyway, I need to go get all the bentonite. I've got the tractor and a pallet down here. I'm gonna take the tractor along the back bank for the first time, see how that feels. I'm hoping to mow it with the tractor going forward, and we'll just see what we can get done over there. Before we get into today's video, I want to show you a really short clip that I recorded over the summer to show you the difference in what the pond looks like now and how quickly these pond lilies can take over. And everyone always asks me if there's fish in it. So we just caught one and I'm going to show it off. Not too bad. So that's the second one he's caught this week. Hopefully there's a lot more in there. So what I have behind me is some bentonite clay on a pallet. And what that bentonite is supposed to do is it's granular like a kitty litter. And you put it down, when it gets wet, it kind of soaks up and expands and seals. It also says it can improve the structural integrity, like if you're worried about this bank eroding, it can help with that. Now, when I looked up, they have different usages for this product. An ideal usage is you drain all the water out, and I put like 80 tons of that stuff in here, and that costs like $30,000 for clay, which is obviously completely out of the realm of possibility. But they have other use cases where you spot treat it, or you put it along a bank, or even where you put it on the water and let it settle down, and apparently it can even help just by settling down off the top of the water. So what I have with this bank, if you haven't been following along, I had a pond dam that was very, very narrow, 2 foot, 3 foot in places, and it was leaking onto the neighbor's property. I believe probably some tree roots. We also found some rocks down there that were leaking, water was leaking through the dam. So we dug out the side of the existing bank down till we hit clay, which is just a little bit below where my feet are at. A little bit below water level here, maybe a foot lower than this water level. We dug that down and pushed new clay out and packed it in. Pushed more clay on top and packed it in, and more, and just kept going over it and kept going over it until you see what we have right now, which is a dam that's about 8 foot wide. I need to do something to keep that from eroding any further. But right now, what I'm out here to do is apply that bentonite clay to where I think it's leaking. So where do I think it's leaking? Okay, our pond bottom's like this. Then it did come out here and straight up. Now we've put all this extra clay on top of it. Okay, so this is water level. This is the new dam, and I think our leak was back behind that new dam with clay pushed on top of it. So we may have already sealed it, but if it's still there, it's either a little bit below this water level pushing up, or right at this water level. So what I'd like to do is evenly spread that in a 2 foot wide strip below and above water level. Problem with that is a lot of the stuff we dug out kind of got pushed down here, and we decided to leave it as habitat for the fish. Now it's blocking an even coating of that bentonite. So I'm going to try to push some of this out of the way with a rake. And this is still a slope with really thick muck and all this algae right here. It's going to be challenging. But I think the first thing I want to do is spread the bags of bentonite evenly all the way across this dam where I can reach them from the bottom. So that way, if I make progress in this area, because it's hard to get down here without sliding down the bank and everything else. So if I make progress clearing out this area, I can put the clay in this area and just work my way down. Doesn't sound like any fun, but you know, it's work. I guess it's not supposed to be fun. So I'm gonna walk off and try to estimate how long this entire bank is, divide by the number of bags I have, and start getting it spread out. The product I am using came from Amazon and it's called Benseal. I will put a link to that with the other products I show later in the video. Put all that in the description and in the pinned comment. Oh my gosh, I try to lift one foot out and the other one sinks in. It only took me a few minutes to tell for sure that there was no way I was going to be able to move this brush away from the bank. And I had already tried it the other day further down and didn't have any luck with that. So I thought maybe I could spread this from the bottom, but it's too steep and it gets deep too quickly at that end. And I just couldn't get anything done there. And I realized if I did move across the bank, I was going to just make a mess out of what I've already spread. So I just went up to the top and scattered it down, and I actually was able to make a thicker layer than I thought I would be able to. Somebody sent me a bunch of private messages telling me I needed to add some frogs and turtles and fish and everything to this pond because it needed an ecosystem. This is a vibrant ecosystem. As I walked across here, 30 or 40 frogs jumped in the water. Literally, maybe minimum 15 frogs jumped in, but I bet it was a lot more than that. There's dragonflies all over the place. We got wasps down there. There are snakes down here. And we've caught a lot of big fish, and something big is jumping out there. A lot bigger than a frog. But the biggest problem I have right now is these lily pads. So last year we got in here twice and we tried to manually remove these. Didn't have any luck, gave up, and got in here with a boat and sprayed each individual leaf for like 2 hours. And that killed 90% of these lily pads. But if you kill 90% of lily pads, you have done almost nothing, because within 6 months, it will cover the entire pond again. So what do you do about it? There's a couple choices. One, you can get a big drag of some kind and try to rip these out. And in just a second, I'm going to show you why I can't just pull them all out. Because that was my first thought, is we will just take however long it takes to walk around here and pull these out. Well, it's not that it's too much work, it's not possible in my mind. So you have the option to have some kind of a big drag that you throw out here and drags them all out. And if it's big enough to work, it's going to be big enough to be hard to get in there. I believe it's possible. Someone suggested I drive down each side with the tractor and skid loader pulling something that drags them all out. Let me show you what the problem is with all of those suggestions. Well, first, the problem is the muck on the bottom of the pond is 1.5 feet thick. So that's how deep down in that muck the roots are. Let me show you what these are, how these operate. So these right here are basically up on dry ground where the water's receded. So I got around a bunch of these, got them down low, thought I'll rip this whole plant out. Well, I pulled all the tops off. I didn't hurt this plant. A few days, it'll completely be back. And these are really soft. They break super easy, so you cannot pull lily pads out by grabbing the cluster of the plant. And we dug some of these out last year, and they've got a huge root ball, and that root ball burrows underground to the next plant. That amount of digging, I've made this big hole right here. I've cut this root ball in half, but it's still there. It's still connected to all these others. It's still gonna grow right back. Basically, the entire pond is a spider web of a root system. All of these pond lilies are connected to each other. As I was down there messing with those lilies, I saw this was spinning pretty fast and it was rotating to face that direction. I guess the wind has changed. And I still get excited every time I see that because the windmill's new. And I can see we're getting aeration in both spots out here in the pond. So I've talked to some people who sell pond supplies, and they tell me I don't want to chemically treat those, and I fully understand why. I used to have my number one hobby was aquariums. I had really large aquariums. I kept fish in there, and I grew a lot of plants in my aquariums, and that's actually kind of complicated to do because you're trying to replicate nature to make it possible for these underwater plants. And I really enjoyed that, but how it relates to this is the nitrate cycle is the same. The oxygenation is the same. And when I talk to people who sell pond supplies, kind of what they tell me is physically remove those, which seems almost impossible to me, because if you leave 2 plants, they're back in a few months. So the other thing they say is dye your pond water. That blocks oxygen from getting down to it and it kills them. And aerate your pond, and the oxygen will make your pond healthier and you won't have so many lilies. Well, neither of those worked. I've been dyeing the pond twice a year and I still have the lilies. So the next suggestion I get is grass carp, and I've been told by like 10 different people grass carp will not eat pond lilies. It's a waste of time. I was also told by the neighbor that this pond already has grass carp in it. I have not seen them, but they live quite a while even though they're sterile, and he said they were put in here right before I bought the property. They should still be here. We still have pond lilies. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do something I don't wanna do. I'm gonna do 2 things. I'm ordering right now. I'm gonna go ahead and order some more grass carp because it can't hurt, right? I figure maybe they won't eat the mature pond lilies, but when they're first starting to come in, maybe they'll help control those. Second thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to treat the entire pond with a herbicide that's gonna kill all these pond lilies. I've read a bunch of reviews on this product I've got. I've already bought it, it's here. I'm gonna put it in right now. And everything I've read is it will kill every single pond lily we have. It'll kill every bit of it, and it won't hurt the fish. The negative to this, and the reason I didn't want to, is that's a lot of pond lilies to die at once. And all of those leaves and the stems and the roots and all of that dies at once. And it rots and decays into your pond water. You have a spike in nitrates. And that kind of pollutes your water, makes it unhealthy for the fish, leads to an algae bloom. Overall, that is not good for the health of your pond. But if I don't do something, there are ponds around here that are basically dry because it's just a blanket of pond lilies and you can't even tell if there's water in there or not. And I've put too much work in this to let the pond lilies take over, and I don't know what else to do. So I'm gonna get this chemical, I'm gonna show you what it is, I'm gonna apply it to the pond, and we're gonna call it a day. I guess one more thing I should say is I ordered a product called Muck that I've used before, and I've used different variations of this product, but what it is your beneficial bacteria The reason you need oxygen is because it makes a healthier environment for beneficial bacteria that break down all the waste in your pond and keep your nitrates from spiking. So hypothetically, if you had enough beneficial bacteria, your pond could withstand all those pond lilies dying. So all you can do is add it. And a healthy pond is going to maintain some of that. Hopefully we've got some. I've added some already this year, but I'm going to get some more. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the Muck Away tablets that I've bought. I'll also put a link to this product that I just bought. I'm not an expert on pond chemicals. I just read a bunch of websites, read a bunch of reviews. I settled on using this because you can pour it directly in the water and it will get rid of all of the pond lilies. It's called Sonar Genesis. It's not a cheap product. This bottle was like $300. I'll have to read it again. I think less than a full bottle will treat my entire pond, and I decided it's worth it. So basically I'm gonna pour this in right now. I think I dilute it into a larger thing of water and spread it around, and nothing's gonna happen today. But what it does is it like blocks the root system so that the plant can't absorb nutrients. It doesn't like poison the leaves. Somehow it blocks the absorption of nutrients for the plant, and that's what causes the plant to die. I think I'm making a lot of progress on this pond, but nobody said it was going to be easy, and I've probably still got another week's worth of projects to do down here before I move back on to my normal content. But I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.